If you've traveled throughout the valley, you've probably seen the signs. Water equals jobs. While many might agree that with that simple assessment, how to manage one of California's most precious and controversial resources is far from a simple matter. The governor recently appointed you as a member of the California Water Commission, Senator Cogdill. Can you outline the magnitude of the problem for us?
Yeah, basically, we operate under a system that was designed and built at a time when the state had 18 million people. We now have 38 million, and as Congressman Costa indicated, within the next decade and a half, 2 decades out, we're going to be at 50 million people. So I think it's been obvious to a lot of us for quite a period of time that we needed to make some major improvements in the infrastructure relating to water in this state. And certainly the governor, Governor Schwarzenegger, deserves an awful lot of the credit for highlighting the issue and showing the kind of dedication that was needed in order to get the water bond through. Last year it was a coalition certainly that involved over two-thirds of the legislature, which is no easy feat, obviously.
Never.
And yeah, especially about an issue as controversial as water, which is something that certainly Juan and I both learned a lot about over the last decade or so as it relates to the controversial nature of it, how difficult it is.
Well, I know Juan planted the flag on water, and probably to the consternation of some of his Democratic colleagues.
That's right.
Both of these gentlemen did a terrific job in the last several years.
But as far as the problem, I think, again, everybody, most people anyway, understand the difficulties and realize that we have to have a comprehensive approach to it. There isn't any silver bullet out there as it relates to the different options to improve our water supply. And in addition to that, we've got real environmental issues with the Delta that have to be addressed for the good of all of us and the environment.
Well, I want to get to that in a second, but Congressman Costa, you've been working on water for decades. California, I'm new to California, relatively new, only 20 years, but California seems to have a lot of water myths. There's always a villain. It's the farmers, it's the Southern California homeowners, it's the Endangered Species Act. Supposedly responsible for all of our water problems. How can we get away from these attempts to vilify one group of water users?
Well, that would be a start. I mean, I think Mark Twain said it best over a century ago when he observed in the West, whiskey was made for drinking and water was made for fighting. And we've been fighting over those water resources for decades. And that's part of the problem. And that's why both Dave and Juan did a terrific job in reaching a 2/3 vote in this long-term water package that we must we must do if we're going to fix our long-term water system. We've got to use all the water management tools in our water toolbox, for starters, because there's no silver bullet. The myths that somehow we are responsible for the degradation of the fish and the water quality in the Delta is that it's a myth. The fact is that every region of California deserves a secure, stable supply of water.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. You know, there's a statement that I saw that says that we don't have a shortage of water, we have a shortage of cheap water. One of the solutions being offered is more dams. Now, according to the Public Policy Institute of California, dams are the most expensive source for new water supplies as compared to groundwater storage or increased efficiency. Are they right? Should we be focusing on groundwater storage and increased efficiency other than dams, or all three?
Well, again, I think it needs a comprehensive approach, and that's certainly the way we've addressed it. All of the studies that have been done over the last decade or so have come to that same conclusion. You can't solve it with increased surface storage only, or increased underground storage, or better conveyance, or more efficient use of water.
Yes, one of the things I read is one of the myths was conservation will save us, and the PPIC is saying
not by itself.
No, don't do it.
So when you have 2/3 of the people in California who live in Southern California, but 2/3 of the rainfall falls in Northern California, we have a problem of getting water to people where they live, when they need it. And in order to do that, as Dave mentioned, we need a comprehensive solution. Conservation will help, reuse will help, underground storage will help, but surface storage is helpful because it holds the water long enough to allow us to move it to where it's most needed.
And also to recharge our groundwater bank, our aquifers, because we're depleting them, because we're taking more out during the dry years than we put back.
Well, I want to ask you about a rather contentious issue. It's been going on since, I guess, '82, and that is the peripheral canal around the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta. Good idea, bad idea?
Well, again, I don't think there's any argument as it relates to the need to improve conveyance of water. Juan did a great job of explaining very simply the problem. The majority of the people of the state live below the Tehachapis, and the majority of the water falls on the northern part of the state. And in reality, as we all know, in wet years can cause some real damage on its way to the ocean, and is not utilized in any way, shape, or form for the good of the environment or the people that rely on it. So again, for me, it's always been about the need to do a better job of wet year management. We are fortunate in this state with the amount of precipitation that we receive on an annual basis. We just don't do the kind of job of managing it properly so that we can extend the periods between droughts, and that's what this infrastructure would allow us to do.
Peripheral canal, good idea?
I think so. And curiously enough, Jerry Brown supported it many years ago.
Got it on the ballot.
So we may see it back.
But you know, one of the other points, though, and my colleagues and I have fought this fight in Sacramento.
Could you hold that thought? We're up against a hard deadline.
All right.
When we come back, though, we'll talk about an issue that's been garnering the headlines recently: public employee pensions. Is it a tempest in a teapot, or is something more sinister brewing? That conversation in a moment. This is the Maddy Report.